Welcome to Financial Planning Explained. I'm your host, Mike Menninger, Certified Financial Planner, owner and founder of Menninger Associates Financial Planning. I'm pleased to have with me one of my staff CFPs, Nick DeVito, also a CFP, also part of Menninger Associates. By the way, it's good. Both our names are in the door. I'm the manager and
I'm the associate.
or certainly one of them. What we're going to do again today is a case study. Names have changed, et cetera, et cetera. But what it is it was spurred on by a recent new client who came on board that what we're doing is doing a comprehensive financial analysis. The data set is not exact, but there's certainly a lot of information that is similar, and we tweak it just to help provide ideas and some of our thought processes that go through when we're doing financial planning. What we've been finding ourselves doing a lot of is we're getting a lot of responses to the podcasts and the YouTube videos for people who are interested in doing a comprehensive financial analysis, and this is one of them. So you ready to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing I really enjoy about doing these case studies, I think it really allows you to kind of get in between the ears of a financial advisor, see
Right.
some of the things we're looking at, how our thought process works when we're going through, especially onboarding a new client, and some of the opportunities we're constantly looking for.
Right. And so what we also find is that we've had a lot of rave reviews to our videos and our audio at the podcasts, because while not everything resonates or is similar to you, but everybody seemingly says, hey, you know what? That little piece reminds me of me and I can take a little nugget. So I don't expect everyone to have exactly the same scenario. In fact, no two people are the same. It's actually what we tell everybody. Everybody is the same, but no two people are alike. And what I mean by that is that the same financial planning techniques apply to everyone, but everyone's situation is slightly different, which makes everybody unique.
Yeah.
So here we got a recent inquiry through the website from a family, relatively young. He is in the C-level suite of a public company, and they're in their young to mid 40s. I think they're both 44 years old, and they're swimming in debt. They have a lot of different things going on that just, it really created a great opportunity for a case study, because it was a great opportunity, quite frankly, as a case study for us to share with our other CFPs and staff. So we figured, hey, you know what? We're sharing it with the staff. Let's make a couple episodes out of it, because there's no way in the world we're going to get this done in one.
Yep. Yeah, so today we have Barry and Lori. Barry is 44 years old, as Mike mentioned, in the C-suite at a publicly traded company. Then we have Lori, who is also 44 years old, and she is a teacher. Barry, from an income standpoint, salary is $250,000, and he also gets a pretty decent bonus, right around $80,000 every year. And Lori makes about $60,000. They have 3 children, ages 13, 15, and 18. And some of their goals were centered around their children as well. So I want to make sure we threw that in there.
The thing that I would like to add about Barry is that he recently has been promoted to a C-level person in 24, I believe. So he's only really beginning to be on track for a rapid increase in his overall compensation package.
Yep, exactly. And one thing I always think of, anytime I hear someone come in that works for a publicly traded company, especially, and then in addition, he's in the C-suite as well, a couple things that I start to immediately think about is, what are their benefits that are available to them? Because oftentimes you'll see that publicly traded companies generally have different benefits than a private company may have. For example, they may have an employee stock purchase program, which he happens to have. They may be able to buy employer stock in their 401k, which there's unique opportunities that arise from that as well. They're more likely to have the life and disability insurance you'll see with the bigger companies have available to them. So there's just a few things. And also, as a C-suite executive, do they have a deferred comp plan available to them? Is he getting RSUs? Is he getting stock options? That's something that you'll generally see with the higher ups at publicly traded companies, especially.
That's correct. And lo and behold, we saw them all.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was no surprise. But, again, when we see something like that, that's what we typically will ask. And we'll talk more about that as we go through.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up with the assets.
So Barry has a 401k worth about $500,000. Lori's father passed away this year. And once again, anytime we are dealing with inherited assets, there's a unique set of planning opportunities that arise from that. So Lori's father passed away, left her an IRA and a home. The IRA is worth about $180,000. The home proceeds they expect to be around $170,000. Their primary residence is also worth about $600,000, and Barry has RSUs and PSOs not currently vested but will be vested in the near future, which is driving a lot of our tax planning that we're going to be doing for him.
That is correct. And to talk about PSOs, that's performance stock options. They have a lot of different names and different companies call them different things. I've seen stock appreciation rights, performance stock options, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, they're non-qualified stock options. The way a non-qualified stock option works is if the company stock is worth $40 today, what they'll do is they'll grant you, 1,000 shares at 40. All that means is that when they're vested, if the share price is now worth 50, then you get to be able to cash in on that $10 difference.
Yeah, and I think one of the key differences between the RSUs and the PSOs is the RSUs are going to vest and become taxable regardless of what you do. There's no option. There's no exercise with them. If they vest in 2025, when they vest and it's $100,000 worth of RSUs, $100,000 is going on your tax return, your paying tax on it.
Right.
With the PSOs or the stock options, non-qualified stock options, when they vest, you now have the right to exercise them. You don't have to exercise them. So it's just, there's little intricacies. They're similar, but different from a taxation and exercising standpoint.
Well, let's talk about the PSOs. We'll just stick with the non-qualified stock options. The fact is that you usually have an expiration date. So to the point that I said, if that was granted at $40 a share, which is the value of the share at the time they were granted, if it's worth 50 or 60, whatever, I'm given the option within or until the expiration period, which is typically 10 years from the grant, to be able to exercise it, and I just get the difference between the two. If the value of the shares are 30 and they were granted to me at 40, well, guess what? There is no value. Mm-hmm. I don't lose money. I just don't get any money.
Yep.
And so that's important to the overall planning because the intricacies here or the nuances were really, really big because we've got Barry on a rapidly rising income, and we've got all those RSUs that are beginning to come due, and that they have the inherited IRA, which is about $180,000. And because her father passed away after 2019, they have to take that money out within 10 years. And this is becoming a race, and we'll talk more about it. But we've got a lot of things competing for the lower tax brackets, and these lower tax brackets to them aren't going to last very long.
Exactly. And to Mike's point, his compensation really is starting to skyrocket in these next few years because the RSUs and the PSOs, what he has now, he's getting them every year from now on. So that's something we have to keep in mind from for planning purposes. And to Mike's point, there's a lot of tax planning that goes along with that.
That's correct. And we'll talk more about it later.
Yep. And from a debt standpoint, they have a mortgage on their home, 3% interest rate, $270,000 balance. Credit cards, a bunch of them, averaging right around 24% interest rate, $30,000. They have student loans of $40,000, ranging anywhere from 3 to 16%. They have a home equity loan for $35,000 with a 6% interest rate. They have an HVAC loan for $15,000 at a 10% interest rate. And they have 3 car loans totaling about $56,000, anywhere from 6 to 8%. So in total, excluding the mortgage, they have about $176,000 in debt.
I would like to point out that we have a tendency when we see things like this, it's a very difficult conversation to have, but it's a conversation that needs to be had, is how did you get into this debt? And we had this conversation. By the way, this is an ongoing thing. We've only met with them twice, and we still have a lot more planning to go. But I think we really broke the shell and really have a plan moving forward. But again, going back to it, when we see all this debt, it immediately raises questions. What's going on here? And so, we're always concerned about consolidating and paying off debt for people to turn around and be right back into debt again. And so when we asked about it, what actually happened is that they did have a period of time when Barry was out of work, okay, which then caused them to eat away at their assets and using debt instruments to be able to get them through some of the called standard living things. But they also admittedly were spenders. They realized that the pickle that they're in, and they said, no more of that.
Exactly. And that was a big part of the reason why they came to us. One, the inherited assets. Two, the debt. They said, this is getting a little bit out of our control. We want to take care of this. We want to make changes to get us on the right path forward, especially because they have a lot of income coming in. So in their minds, one of the issues they had stressed to us was we're not sure how we're in this position given the income that we're currently generating. And to Mike's point, it is a little bit more recent, so that is a big part of it too. But oftentimes you deal with income creep and expense creep. As your income rises, your expenses rise right along with it. And that's something people don't necessarily think about, especially when you're dealing with people pulling in close to $400,000 a year. You think, how are they sitting here in debt? But to that point, oftentimes their expenses rise right with their income.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or, you just think, you know what, I'm buying this.
Yep.
So lastly, before we take a break, what we like to do is just talk about what their goals are.
So they came to us with a list of goals, things they wanted to accomplish. First and foremost, they wanted to tackle the debt, get that under control. Because anytime we're dealing with a client, onboarding them, one of the first things we focus on is their debt, because that's a very not always easy, but a quick way to optimize someone's financial situation and help them get on the right track and maximize the efficiency. One thing we're always going to take a look at, and we'll talk a little bit later about that, is the cash flow, and debt is a big component of cash flow. So they wanted to, one, take care of the debt. Two, the 3 children that we had discussed earlier, they wanted to fund their college education. They also want to do some home improvements. And a big thing I know for Barry was retiring early, and that was one of their other goals as well. They're making the good money. They want to get on the good track to early retirement, which is very achievable given their income as long as they do the right things.
An early retirement for them is they wanted to retire at age 55. And I don't think you mentioned the ages of their kids. 13, 15, and 18?
Yep, 13, 15, 18.
Okay. So college is right around the corner.
Yep.
Okay, so the 18-year-old actually is going to be going to college in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And their goals with college were not to pay for the whole thing. Was it 50%, was it?
I think they wanted to provide a certain dollar amount, and if they went above and beyond that, it's on the kid.
Okay. And I think that number might have been $20,000 or $25,000 or something like that.
Yeah, whatever the number was. Yeah,
right. And the first one's going to a state school.
Yeah.
Okay. And because of the fact that he's going to a state school, the number is going to come rolling in at roughly what they were willing to spend.
Yeah, and I know oftentimes you'll see, I have a couple clients, I know you personally did something very similar to that, where you'll have people come in and say, okay, this is how much I have set aside for the children for college. If that number's $25,000 a year, I'm going to give them $25,000. If they go above that, it's on them. If they go less than that, that's good for them too. But oftentimes we'll see that. I've seen that with several clients have that mindset too.
Absolutely.
The fifth and final goal was a vacation home down the road. For what it's worth, very clearly that their 2 highest priority goals were the debt, the college, and then kind of third to that was, I didn't touch on it yet, but what to do with the inherited assets, which is kind of intertwined with the debt there. So first main goal, get out of the debt. Second biggest goal for them was the funding the children's education.
Funny part about it is that when we looked at their balance sheet, our first goal was to get out of debt. So
yep, we were very much aligned on that one.
So tell you what, we're going to come back in just a few moments, and then we'll start getting into the whole planning on this. So stay tuned. We'll be back with you in just a few moments.
Do you keep up regularly with your investments? Where exactly are your hard-earned dollars going? Are you financially prepared for an emergency?
I'm Mike Menninger, founder of Menninger Associates Financial Planning. We believe that education and knowledge are powerful, and we want our clients to understand why we are making the recommendations that we make. It's your money, and you deserve to know where it's going, because it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So call us today to discuss your financial concerns. Welcome back. We're continuing on with Barry and Lori. We basically laid out the base facts, who they are, what their assets are, what their debts are, and what their goals are. I think what we'll pick up here is, to your point, is you were referencing cash flow. One of the things, look at the 6 areas of financial planning. Let's reiterate: cash management, tax planning, risk management, which is insurance planning, investment planning, retirement planning, and estate planning. And quite honestly, they fit into all 6 of those areas. Maybe not as much in the investment planning, but trust me, it's going to get into it. But, cash management is, by the book, taking a look at what is somebody's income, what are their expenses, and hopefully their income is higher than their expenses. What we like to do is we like to really analyze their balance sheet, because to Nick's point, what happens is that if we can improve their debt, then we're almost certainly going to improve their cash flow. And improving cash flow now opens the door to be able to do a whole lot of other things. Next area is tax planning. We always say it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And to the extent that we can maximize tax efficiency, black and white, legal, the rules exist. Let's let the rules work for us as opposed to us working for the rules. So we look for ways with which we can maximize tax efficiency so that more money goes into their pockets and less in Uncle Sam's. On the risk management portion, we take a look at what their insurances are. Most of their insurances are covered, the homeowners, the automobile insurance. But what we focus on, particularly with people who are still working, is their life insurance and disability insurance, and we'll touch upon that. That's getting our house in order. On investment planning, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at their short, intermediate, and long-term goals and figuring out, based on their risk tolerance, et cetera, what's the best way of tackling their investments. Retirement planning is, what are their goals? They reference that they want to be able to retire at age 55. So what we're going to do, and that's 11 years away, so what we're going to do is figure out, can they do it? Okay. And we'll talk more about that as well. And then the last piece is estate planning. Estate planning is 2 components: who takes care of your dependent children in the event that both of you die, and what happens to your assets. And lo and behold, holy cow, they have no will. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a gaping hole that they had in their financial plan.
Yeah. Anytime someone comes into us and they have children, especially dependent children, one of our first questions, and you'll see it in my notes all the time, is, do you have a will? And if they don't have a will, I'm writing in my notes, no will, exclamation point. Because you need to have one, especially when you have dependent children.
Absolutely.
The very simple way to look at it is, who do you want making decisions about what happens to your asset? But more importantly, who takes care of your kids? Do you want to be making that decision, or do you want whatever state you reside in to be making that decision? Correct. And I can tell you 100% of the time, the response I get is, I want to make that decision. We want to make that decision.
Of course.
No one wants to put that in the hands of the state. To Mike's point, we were getting to dive into the cash flow. And a big component of their cash flow is their debt and their debt payments. I think one thing that's always very powerful that we do, especially when we're dealing with someone with debt, is getting it all on a piece of paper. I think oftentimes what psychologically helps people to see is, okay, what are my balances on all my debt? What is the interest rate on all that debt? What is my annual interest on that debt? What am I paying for no reason almost? And then what is their monthly payment? I think when you go through and kind of line by line itemize that, and it's one thing we'll do, we'll write it on the board, and we're going through and saying, okay, this is how much you have total, and this is how much you're paying in interest. This is what your monthly payment are. How can we maximize that? How can we lower that interest payment? What are some debt consolidation strategies we use? How can we lower that monthly payment on whatever it's the minimums, whatever the payment is? Their mortgage payment is $2,000 a month. The car loans are $1,050 a month. The student loans are $450 a month. Credit cards, handful of them out there, $1,200 a month, and then miscellaneous is $800 a month. So taking a look at just the total of all those monthly payments, exclusive of the mortgage, is right around $3,500 a month. So that's on top of whatever their other cost of living expenses may be. That is just for the minimum payments on the debt.
So $3,500 a month, excluding the mortgage, is a whole lot of money. And being as how they owe, $250,000, $300,000 on their mortgage. Fact of the matter is that if they wanted to overpay on the mortgage, it's still, next month, their mortgage payment is $2,000. So what we like to try to do is look for ways with which we can accomplish a handful of things. And I know there are terms, cascading and picking things apart. Yeah. I don't go by terms really that much, but we absolutely saw that what was paramount was to fix their debt problem. Okay, now it's something that they wanted to do, but at the end of the day, if we could tackle all the debt that they have, with the exception of the mortgage, because the mortgage, number one, is at 3%. Okay, a 3% mortgage is very good. Obviously, they got it before 2022 when interest rates started rising, but we're trying to clean up all the other debt. And if we can clean it up to the tune of saving $3,500 a month in payments, my goodness, that right there, you could turn around and use plowing into your 401k, plowing into a savings and investment program, plowing into paying for college, all these things that they can't do right now because they're so straddled in debt and the cost is killing them.
Yeah.
And so one other thing that we tell clients all the time, one of the huge advantages we have over our clients is not as much that we have the financial knowledge. People think that. Our biggest advantage is we don't have the same emotional connection. It's not that we don't care, because we do, but we don't have the emotional connection to certain debts that would cloud our judgment. And so now, again, the debt was the primary problem, but we have a secondary problem sitting out there. And that secondary problem is the inherited IRA. So we got $180,000 of an inherited IRA coming. They haven't actually received it yet, but now we're looking at it as, we got $180,000 of taxable income coming our way. And when we looked at their income right now, their income is near the top of the 24% tax bracket. And if I recall, in 25, they can only afford $50,000.
Yeah, right around there, right? $50,000, $60,000, I think, with their salaries, bonuses,
right.
No RSUs yet this year, no PSOs yet this year. But to Mike's point, yeah, they have about $60,000 in room before they hit the 32% tax bracket. And we really, when we're looking at tax planning, we always kind of look at the high, medium, and low tax brackets. Medium ends at 24, high begins at 32. So as much as we can stay in that sweet spot of the 22 to 24% range is where we really like to live.
Right. Absolutely. Because let's put it this way. If they're continuing to work, we have to take it out in 10 years and they're continuing to work for 11, it's going to be coming out while they're working. Okay. While they have income. And if Barry's income is just racing, now we're having to race to the finish line to beat it, because to Nick's point about his RSUs, he said he has none, like just a little bit coming out this year, like $7,000. It's not, we have to take that into consideration. Okay. His bonus this year, he projects to be about 70,000, somewhere between 70 and 80, which he won't know until October. So what we're doing is we're waiting until some of these points are known, at which point then we're going to be able to utilize the inherited IRA to kill two birds with one stone, three birds with one stone. Number one, it enables us to take a distribution while we can in the lower income tax bracket, because we want to maximize getting it out at the lowest possible rate. What do you do with the money? Well, there you go. Now what do we do with the money? Now, guess what? Don't we have a debt problem? Yes. So now we're taking care of one problem by getting the money out of the inherited IRA, and we're trying to get it out there as cheaply as possible, okay, from a tax perspective. The second thing is we got all this debt. So now this is able to accomplish paying down debt. And then lastly is when we were talking about these RSUs, the RSUs are, his plan was when he received the RSUs, they vest in 3 years. And then when he received the stock appreciate, or what would they call them? Their performance stock options, they come out in 4 years, but they're all starting to hit big in 2027. Okay. So not only will their income probably increase by $50,000 over the next 2 years between now and 2027, but all of those other RSUs and everything else are really going to start hitting in 2027, barring a really bad performance or something like that, where his bonus goes down precipitously. There is no question in our mind they're in a high tax bracket for 2 years. We need to mitigate that. So combination of taking the inherited IRA out, paying off the debts, we've got ourselves a challenge that what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up in the next episode where we start going through and looking at our specific plans. And by the way, it's not only the deaths, but they also have the issue of their first child is now going to college.
Yep.
Their second child is a junior, I think, rising junior,
Yeah,
right?
I believe so.
Rising junior. So 2 years away from that college. So we've got a lot of things happening. This was exciting to us, that the more cool stuff that we can do, the better. And I'm really looking forward to talking about how we're playing the game with the inherited IRA distributions and stuff.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We'll be back with you on the next episode of Financial Planning Explained. And we're going to pick up this case study from where we left off. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching this episode of Financial Planning Explained. We strive to provide an educational experience for all of our viewers, and what we struggle with at times is topics. So if there is an idea or a topic that you would like for us to discuss on a future episode, please email us at admin@maaplanning.com, or you may enter it on the Contact Us page on our website at www.maaplanning.com. Thank you in advance for participating and helping make our show successful.